You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters, we're going to talk about Caitlin Clark and one Fox Sports personality. Somebody I'm sure if you're watching this channel, all you guys know who Colin Cowherd is. There was a time when I really watched the Herd a lot, but that was kind of more back in the ESPN radio days when he had it felt like a much smaller show that was simulcast on ESPNU and ESPN News. And I really enjoyed the show back then. I do occasionally watch his Fox Sports one, but it's a rarity these days. I don't love some of the takes and some of the places that he's taken his broadcast in his show these days. Neither here nor there. Nobody can deny that Cowherd at this point is sort of a legend in his lane, I guess, or at least a legend in his own mind. He's come out with what people are calling a stunning prediction for Caitlin Clark and her WNBA rookie season. Now, I guess at first glance, this feels stunning, but if you think about it, I don't know how stunning it really is, provided Caitlin Clark goes out and really kills it on a WNBA basketball court. All right? In other words, and I think this is in light of the fact that, look, and this really got a lot of play yesterday. I made a video on it, but in light of the fact that the Indiana Fever drew 13,000 fans for an exhibition game. All right? They averaged 4,000 during the regular season. 4,000 in attendance for the regular season. They drew 13,000 for a meaningless game. It was her debut, but you get the point. And so Cowherd has come out and made some predictions around Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Pacers. And I don't know how brave, stunning, and courageous this prediction is, really. I guess it certainly seems like a wild prediction if you base it on where this team has previously been and where the WNBA has previously been. I get that. But I talked about the other day that Caitlin Clark is already, even if you include the NBA, you can include all the players in the NBA. Caitlin Clark's a top 5 entity amongst NBA and WNBA players if you put them together. I just think that's where the fandom is. You can tell there's a real fire around this person that certainly this league that was failing, this is a failing league, propped up by the NBA. They've never seen this before. And also, we will look at some of the betting lines, because the big betting houses, the big casinos have come out in the last day now, and, I mean, Caitlin Clark money is exploding everywhere among the big betting entities out there, and that just tells you more fire around Caitlin Clark. So, Caitlin Clark's impact on women's basketball can't be underrated. The former Iowa Hawkeye is sparking big changes across the WNBA, like increased ticket sales and changes to how teams travel to and from games. But those could seem minimal to the impact she makes during her rookie WNBA season. It should be noted this game, her first game, is going to be on, I believe, ESPN2, ESPN Plus, and they're going to stream it on Disney Plus, too. I think that's a first of live sports on Disney Plus that they've ever done. So this is different in some way, shape, form, or fashion. This is definitely different. FS1's Colin Cowherd believes Caitlin Clark is going to make such a significant impact on the WNBA that the Indiana Fever will begin to outdraw the NBA's Indiana Pacers in attendance. Read that again. The Pacers have always been around the league bottom in attendance numbers. Per Cowherd, they average 16,000 fans for home games. The Fever, meanwhile, just had a little over 13,000 fans attend Clark's one and only preseason home game. It's not difficult to envision a scenario where the Fever start outdrawing an NBA team like the Pacers. If the Fever are able to pull that off and Clark has a sensational start to her WNBA career, attendance across the league will skyrocket. Will it? I think it might help if it's, other teams maybe. For example, the Chicago Sky and Angel Reese and etc. I could see it helping the Las Vegas Aces in some way because there's the big hot shot team, I guess. But I think it's going to be really contained to around Clark, I think. Quote, the Indiana Pacers average around 16,000. They've never had TV ratings locally and attendance. They've always been near the bottom of the league, Cowherd said. I think a WNBA team in the same city will outdraw the NBA team. I absolutely believe that. Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes drew TV ratings comparable to NFL postseason games. Why can't the Fever do the same? ? Clark and the Fever begin the 2024 season versus the Connecticut Sun. The first home game takes place 2 days later against the Liberty. So we'll find out then whether or not Cowherd's right. But I don't know that doesn't feel like this massive stretch to me. I think a year ago or 2 years ago, before the Caitlin Clark experience was starting to build and to this moment, yeah, that seemed absurd. That take would have been like Cowherd's out of his ever-loving mind. But just seeing the reaction, just for example on this channel, Caitlin Clark videos are outdrawing everything else 6-1. All right, 5 and 6-1 on views. The interest is truly there, and it's there among fans that previously had no interest in the league whatsoever, and that's the key. I mean, I could give a rip about the WNBA. We covered a lot of their activism and the shit that made you want to pull your hair out that you couldn't stand, and them always being mad and running their mouth, yada, 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 or getting arrested and putting it in Russian prison. But actual player and what's going on the court, forget about it. It would have never happened. Why? Because nobody would have watched. I mean, nobody would watch those videos ever in life. Let's take a look at the betting money. This is crazy. The betting public is throwing money on Caitlin Clark in the Indiana Fever as the WNBA prepares to open one of the most anticipated seasons in league history. One of the most? Wrong. The most anticipated season ever. No doubt about it. A Fever championship would have bookmakers sweating. They are the biggest liability at BetMGM Sportsbook, with nearly half the betting tickets on the Fever, who opened the season Tuesday at the Connecticut Sun. Indiana is second in money wagered at 29%, behind the two-time defending champion Las Vegas Aces at 41.5%, also a popular public team that additionally draws action from professional bettors. The heavy money on the Fever caused them to go from a plus 2,500 to win the championship to a plus 1,800. They moved the shit out of the needle. Las Vegas edged from a plus 115 favorite to even money. Wow. Quote, Caitlin Clark drove record handle on women's NC2A tournaments, and the interest from bettors carried over to the WNBA. BetMGM Sportsbook trading manager Seamus McGee said, we expect Fever games to be the most bet throughout the season and for Clark's player props to be popular with bettors. Seamus McGee. Do you think that guy looks like Robert De Niro from Casino? I don't know. Complete with the big thick glasses towards the end there. I'm just throwing that out. The story is much the same at Caesars Sportsbook. The Indiana Fever went 13-27 last season and put the Fever in position to land Clark with the number 1 overall pick, is tied with the Sun at Caesars as the 4th best odds at 15-1. The Aces plus 100, last year's runner-up, The New York Liberty at plus 240 and the Storm at plus 800 are favored to win the title. Quote, I think we've definitely seen an increase in the handle at this time than this time last year. Caesars basketball odds maker David Lieberman said it makes sense with all the hype around Clark. That buzz has pushed Clark into group favorites to win the MVP. She has received 68% of the wagers at BetMGM Sportsbook to take the league's top individual honor, which at plus 1,000 is a strong value bet. Ajay Wilson is at plus 120. Breonna Stewart plus 550. So she's getting massive love on prop bets too. So that's one thing that's going on. That's the other thing. All right, and I think it's something that if the UFL could figure out how to really parlay their and I don't know if you paid attention, the UFL is drawing good television ratings. I mean, they're drawing 850,000 to 1.2 million viewers on those football games. Their attendance still ain't great, but the viewership is there. So we'll have to see. Now, if you're in St. Louis, there are 30,000 fans, 35,000 fans. Anyway, the point is, betting is a big deal these days. And if Clark can get the bettors involved, you get more TV eyes involved. If maybe more fantasy comes into play, it's going to help the league, you know? It's crazy. She is literally, we are watching the reshaping. Like I said, we talked about the NBA and the way it grew. I was too young to have watched and pay attention to how that reshaped because I was like 4 or 5 years old. But I've know the history of the NBA around that time. And we're watching this now in real time with social media and everything. A league potentially being reshaped right in front of our face into something that was an utter failure to something that could be viable, maybe, and stand on its own eventually. We'll have to see how this goes. And will the talent come out of college next year with anybody that's even close carrying the same kind of fire? My gut feeling is no. You know, I mean, this is, like I said, this is Magic, Larry, Jordan, that kind of thing happening in the WNBA. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.